Well, Professor Photo back with, once again, another great lens for you to think about. This is the Nokton Classic 35mm F1.4 made by Voightlander. This is very much a lens for someone who is looking to create or recapture classical black and white images. This is a single coated lens, which makes it rather unique. And the other thing is the fact that it reminds us very much of the original, let's say, Sumilux non-aspheric. It has a very much a similar type of construction, and it's a tiny, tiny, tiny lens. It has its own little instructions here, you know, there it is. I can get them out of the box. There you go, okay. And it appeals to someone who is looking to create or looking to recapture or shoot with images that are original. So when you're looking at working with a lens like this, the type of photographer that works with this lens is going to be different than the kind of photographer who is working with an aspherical lens. And this is going to have a more classical, original feel to it. It's going to give you a wonderful image, but it's not going to give you an image that has the same type of characteristics as a modern lens. So it's going to give you a more retro-styled image. It's highly affordable. It's very well priced. So it's a very cost-friendly lens. Once again, very high value added. And this is a single coated lens, which means it's designed for special applications related to film. You can use it on a digital camera. We've used it on the Fuji Xe2S. It's worked very well, even in its full aperture basis. But it doesn't have the kind of mean, critical, harsh sharpness. It's not a super high contrast lens like a lot of modern 35mm-1.4s. So if you're looking for something that's going to give you kind of a brush, and you have to think of lenses as being brushes to a painter, the bottom line is this is a lens that's going to give you a lot of opportunities to do different things. And you're going to be working at everything from f1.4. I would assume most people use this lens. Basically, the sweet spot on this is something about f4 to f5.6 for maximum sharpness. But you're probably not going to be going much beyond 5.6, occasionally f8. But this lens is designed for a lot of close-in work. I would say your subject is probably normally about 10 feet away, 10 to 15 feet away. You're doing a lot of intimate kind of cafe-style portraiture or other types of things. It's not really designed for someone who's going to do large landscapes, but it can do that. And it gives it, like I said, in an impressionistic kind of feel. So the edges out there are softer. The overall image is softer to start with, but it's not a soft lens per se. It just doesn't have that kind of like harsh, critical, high contrast feel that most of the modern 35s have today. So take a look at the write-up that we're doing on this. You'll see some of the still images included in this video. And you know, think about the fact that if you're looking to expand your creative ability, this is another brush that you can use to help create a whole new style of imagery, maybe for your creative side. So, okay, what we're going to do today is look at the technical side of this lens and what makes it so special. This is a tiny little tool, but it's a power pack tool. The 35mm-1.4 looks very much, it's actually an homage to the Leica Sumilux F1.4, which is also a non-aspherical lens. The Sumilux was designed in 1961, and it was a real tour de force. It was a giant leap forward. It was the fastest 35 ever made, but it had flaws. It had a tendency to have a lot of vignetting. It only handled coarse detail well. It didn't really do well with fine details. But at the time, it was such a huge step forward for everyone else. The thing to understand is the fact that the Voightlander lens is designed significantly different, which is why it has the ability to deliver flexible performance and deliver more performance. So when we look at this, they're both Gaussian type designs, but the bottom line is the fact that it's like they're both set up to be different. And so they do things differently because of the way they were designed. When we look at the first image, what you're looking at is actually a reproduction of the design of the Leica Sumilux lens. And you'll notice that in the very front group, you have that front group of elements, and there's a concave space back there. Okay, well, that space becomes very, very important because when we look at the Voightlander design, you'll see that that space has now been filled in by the additional element that was not there in the Sumilux. And that's what creates the ability to do these things and make such, let's say, amazingly flexible and also higher quality results out of a non-aspheric design. So when they created this, they stepped forward with a new idea that was a generational leap, just like the old Sumilux was a generational leap for the time that it was in. So the nice thing about this lens is the fact that it is single coated, which does wonders on black and white film. And I can't stress to you enough about the fact that these Voightlander lenses are so flexible, because you use them on 35mm film cameras, which is what they were designed for, but you can use them on a 35 full frame digital, APS-C, and micro four thirds. So you get the ability to work with these things. The next most important link in the chain is going to be, of course, the adapter. And we've talked about the fact that CameraQuest carries these great industrial, almost jewel-like quality adapters made by Rayqual. So you can put them on any camera almost that you can imagine that's in the mirrorless side, and in some cases even a DSLR, depending on the situation. If you look at the pictures that we shot, we're going to shoot these pictures to show you how the design difference between these two lenses translates into the final production image that you get. So let's step forward and take a look at these single images. Okay, when we move over to the individual pictures, we're looking at an office building in downtown. This particular office building is made of a large group of, as you easy to see, cubed squares. And when you look at this building, you realize that it was not really meant to be used for anything special. But here's an image where basically what we're doing is we've stopped down to f2, f2.8, and we're going to show you 100% crop of this. Here is 100% crop of this same shot, taken it nearly wide open, and you can see how well the detail translates of the marble, the details in the windows, and these other things. And this is APS-C. This is shot virtually one stop down, and yet we have an amazing quality, and this is focused at infinity. So it gives you an idea of how flexible and how well it delivers high quality at a great distance. That's something that's unique for wide angle lenses. So you want to be able to understand that you can pick a task for this thing, and if you can focus it correctly, and if you're willing to work with it, you're going to find that you can get a lot of performance out of this. You may have to bracket your f-stops to get exactly the thing that you want, but this will deliver because this is a very high-tech design. Okay, and the next image what we're going to look at here is an image that's shot at full aperture at f1.4. It's shot from across the street, and we're only focusing on the quote-unquote the engraving of the letters in this concrete sign. You'll notice the cowboy in the far left of the frame. He's not in focus. Well, we don't want him to be focused for technical purposes, because what we want to show you is how well it holds the detail in the wall and the sign, and yet anything in front of that, there's no real sharpness on it. The other thing is none of these images are sharpened. The next image you're going to see is of a parking lot wall and has some interesting architectural ducts and flags and other things. But the thing that matters in this image here is really the bricks and the ability to retain the detail in these white bricks. And you don't realize how good this image is when you realize this is shot at f2.8 and it's handheld. And so when you look at this, you're seeing all this very complex shadow detailing. But when you get into the 100% crop of this image, what you're going to notice is all of a sudden it retains all these very fine details in this brick wall. Now, this gives you an understanding of the fact that it's giving you all the detail you need, but it's not giving it to you on an aseptically overly sharp level. None of these images have been sharpened, none of them have been tweaked, so this is just the way they are raw out of the bag. This helps you understand how you can use these very carefully controlled points of focus to achieve artistic interpretation from a very innocently, modestly priced, but well-designed lens. Okay, what we have here now is an image of these orange construction sandbags. The only reason we're shooting these is because of the fact that it gives us the ability to show you how much the character of the lens picks up as you move slightly forward in either a half stop or a full stop basis. This particular shot is taken at f3.5. We took another one at f4 and noticed no appreciable change. So when we look at this, what we need to be able to understand is the fact that it's like these modest changes in f-stop based on the focal point and the focal distance can have a real impressive effect. Now, next we're moving to one of the most dramatic examples of how well this lens works, and this is this very tall, dramatically shaped office building in downtown. It's all glass, it's shot at infinity, and it's shot from several blocks away down a street. And you'll notice that there's a lot of very small, fine details in it. When you go ahead and you look at the full crop of the part of the building where in essence the window cleaners are, you got to realize that this is the smallest, tiniest detail that we could find, and we shot this image for that reason. And yet we still have very good detailing of small details from a distance. This is shot at full aperture. This is shot at f1.4. Should pound home, driving a carpet tack with a sledgehammer, so to speak. And you'll see this, and that's what it does. It shows you the ability of this lens to deliver things that you don't necessarily expect. Next, we have this wire-graded seat. The wire-graded seat was a perfect example of how to use different op-stops to show what level of bokeh you would get and how well it holds detail. Look at the close-up points on the detail of the wire sides of the bench where we chose those details to capture. They captured very well, and look at how well and how creamy, how the bokeh just kind of like dissolves off like steam. So remember, when you're using this is all about what you pick and choose to use and how you pick and choose to use it. Now we look at downtown. Here's another example of this lens being used in its full aperture capacity, focusing at a long distance object. This is a downtown vertical shot. You'll notice that all of the details in the building are not super sharp, but the only thing that really matters is the one thing that we chose to matter, which was, of course, is the sign on the building for the sunglasses. And the most important thing there, of course, is the facial details and the lettering on the sign. Now, we move forward and look at, here's a building. This is the State Farm Executive Building shot at f8. So if you want to know what this lens can do when you get into f-stops like 4, 5, and 6, you're looking at a fact that this lens at f8 produces some phenomenal results when you realize it is a non-aspheric design. So this is something that's so important to remember, is the fact that you're working with a lens that has technical abilities that if you'll take the time to work with it and find them, you will have no trouble. Just remember, when you're looking at this Voightlander lens, there's an extra element in there that's not in the original Sumilux. That's the difference. That's why you have a non-aspheric lens that produces such excellent results at such a very, very affordable price. So this is Professor Foto. Remember to like and share